Lawrence Fox's Reclaim Party has released damning new polling. The polling, commissioned by Comres, has found that half of Britain's 50% believe that free speech is under threat and that cancel culture is terrifying everyday Brits into submission. 50% of Brits reckon it's harder to actually share their thoughts on topics like immigration or the trans debate than it was only 5 years ago. Only 12% of those polled disagreed that free speech is actually in peril. On immigration issues, a massive 43% said they are too scared to share their real beliefs, no doubt for fear of being called racist. And you see, folks, that's what the opponents of speech and debate have been trying to do all along. They accuse they utilise their accusations of you being a hateful or discriminatory individual that's guilty of whatever ism or phobia takes their fancy to ensure that you don't dare open your trap again. It's a crippling impediment to speech and debate, which are, let's not forget, the tools that we've always used to advance ideas and to progress as a society. And cancel culture has turned the English language into a live minefield. Every damn day now, you risk stepping on a verbal or digital landmine, and they're gaslighting we into losing our individuality, our right to think freely, to speak openly, and turning us into unthinking identikit clones, and actually extensions of their warped world view. And it's not just celebrities, by the way, like Lawrence Fox, that have been dropped from the acting world after being branded a racist for daring to argue that the UK is anything but. Pensioner Margaret Nelson was publicly called out recently by Innocent Smoothies, the overpriced pulp, because a Twitter user gleefully reported her for not sharing their politically correct orthodox views on trans self-ID. And the smoothie company happened to follow her. It then unfollowed her. I mean, you might say, well, who cares about Twitter? It's not the real world. Well, what about the supermarket assistant then who faced disciplinary action from a firm after refusing to take part in quack unconscious bias training? Or the checkout assistant punished for mistaking a trans woman for a man? Or Brian Leach, a 55-year-old disabled grandad who was removed from his job at Asda for sharing a Billy Connolly video on his private Facebook page? Or a 55-year-old school social worker who nearly lost her job because, according to the Daily Mail columnist Sue Reed, she remarked that Brexit might actually be a good thing. And perhaps that the largely peaceful, city-burning, statue-toppling BLM protests weren't as tranquil as the left claimed they were. We're being taught that there's a hierarchy of victimhood, that being gay is better than being straight, that being trans is better than being cis, that being BAME, black and minority ethnic, is better than being white. Being white, middle class and heterosexual is possibly the worst sin of all. You might as well pack up your things and sudden well go home, mate. Without even so much as opening your trap, you'll be guilty of unconscious biases and inherently racist, sexist, transphobic, or indeed a brand and mix of all three. And it's very much easy, I think, to dismiss all of this as a product of my snowflake generation. But I don't believe that's actually quite right. Every day now you'll scroll through your news feeds to a torrent of hogwash from some Labour Party politician or apparatchik, or a national institution like the BBC or the National Trust. National institutions that now join those in painting or attempting to paint a picture of the United Kingdom as some intolerant, bigoted backwater, instead of the most tolerant, accepting and diverse nation on earth. And if these people are snowflakes, it's going to take more than teenage tantrum Greta Thunberg's most terrifying, apocalyptic global warming predictions to melt outfits as established as these behemoths. They want you to be woke, and I want you to be awake to the danger that this radical activism of the hard left actually presents. These are the people who want to re-engineer our brains and convince us that we are defective people living in an evil society. They want to divide us, to separate us from the bonds and ties of nationhood that act as the adhesive that forms our community and our connections to each other. And ultimately, folks, you have to ask yourself, where the hell does this end? Where do we get to from here? What happens when we lose the ability to actually speak and debate freely and openly? You know, whether rich and poor, or gay or straight, or black or white, without the fear of losing your livelihood, and social media shaming and online witch hunts like it's the sudden Salem trials. Almost every day, a new mutation of that cancel culture virus is mysteriously born, and you can vaccinate against the coronavirus, as we're seeing at record pace in this country. But how do we vaccinate against the endless mutations of this pervasive woke culture that's destroying the very fabric of our society? They want you to self-censor yourself. They want to conscribe you to their cult, or failing that, which they'll attempt to destroy you. I say resist. I say think freely. I say speak freely. They want you to loathe yourself and your nation. I say don't. This enlightening new Poland, I reckon, finds that the silent majority has cottoned on to these nihilists who want to replace our buildings, our institutions, our language, beautiful language, our culture, our national identity, and our ancient rights that have been hard fought for and won as free Britons, to actually think for ourselves. So I hope, folks, that the majority now begin to make their voice heard. See you next time.